You're hanging out with the crew of Demon 305, and we have the privilege and honor of interviewing the new sheriff in town, Sheriff Rosie Cordero. Stutz, how you doing?
I'm really well, thank you.
Absolutely, our pleasure. Thank you so much for doing this. It's the beginning of the year, and we are very excited. A lot to talk about. We want to get to know you. Where did your story begin here in Miami?
So I grew up in New York, right? My parents divorced when I was really young. Dad eventually retired from New York and moved to South Florida. So that's where my South Florida story started.
So your mom stayed in New York?
Yeah, so mom was in New York, and I would just spend every summer, right? I would come in the summer, spend it with Dad in South Florida, and then go back, you know, to
Did
New
you
York
eventually know at that time that you were going to move to Miami?
Well, no, actually, that kind of just organically happened. So now, fast forward years later, I graduate college from New York. I graduated from Marist College in Poughkeepsie, New York. And I was trying to get a job in law enforcement. And it was just a really tough time in the economy. And there were really not many jobs. And I was like, I'm going to my other home, Miami.
So you were already considering Miami to be a home,
Oh,
right? You were spending summers here.
Absolutely. It was my other home.
Now, how do you compare New York and Miami?
So New York was like literally, you know, never sleeps. But Miami was like, oh, I mean, just the palm trees. It always felt like you were on vacation when you were here, at least for me.
Especially on the beach, right?
Yeah. So it was that kind of a vibe. And always like everyone spoke Spanish. In New York, there's Spanish people, but everybody speaks English.
Okay.
So I would come to visit Miami and everyone would speak Spanish. So that was like
How did that make you feel? Did you like it?
No,
Like,
it was cool. It was cool. It was very cool. It was cool.
So you're in this high school transition. You're New York, Miami, and then you go to school, and I'm going to school in New York, and then you're like, all right, it's time for me to make a transition to Miami officially.
Yes.
Now, when you came here, did you feel like there was like a culture shock because now you were living here year-round, or was it like, okay, I'm in the flow of things since you were already coming in the summer?
So there was a little bit of a culture shock for me because in New York, there were definitely a lot like from all different countries and cultures, right?
Yeah.
Like literally, like I grew up like there was Koreans and Indians and like that was like my floor where I lived in the apartments, you know? So, but when I came here, everybody was like, you were Cuban or you were not. Like that was it. There was nothing else, right? And I'm Dominican.
Yeah.
So that was definitely something different for me.
Who was your favorite artist growing up? Were you into more Spanish music, English music?
Oh, wow. When I was growing up, it was Menudo.
Menudo.
Yeah,
Okay.
So that was another big influence in my growing up, right? Because it was a very Latin influence, even though I was growing up in New York City. But Menudo was really big, and my mom really encouraged us, and she would take us to concerts, and we even like traveled to Puerto Rico to go see concerts.
Wow, that's serious.
That was really cool.
So music is a really big part of your life, especially with theater and college.
It really was. I dabble at playing the guitar as well, very badly, but you know, self-taught myself. And
very cool.
You know,
we're gonna have to jam out.
No, gosh, no, I will never do that in public. Not anymore, anyway.
At what point did you know you wanted to pursue graduate school, and why did you go?
So I'd been on, I guess on the job about maybe 5 to 8 years, and so I kind of came to a crossroads, right? I'd been here. I still had my mom and my sister in New York. Okay. And
so you were here alone.
Yeah.
With your dad?
Yeah, my dad was here, but then even then, Dad was like retiring and talking about going back to Dominican and just kind of. So it was a place where I was like, am I staying in Miami or am I going back to New York? Like, what am I doing with myself? And so I really decided, like, I loved my job. I loved my profession, and I love what I was doing here with the department. And so kind of made a conscious decision, well, if I stay, I want to move up the ranks. Okay. And so to do that, I knew that the best way for me was through education.
Is there a potential PhD in the future?
Oh gosh, I hope. No, I don't want to say never because I said I would never run for sheriff, and here I am. So, but yeah, no, I don't think so. I think I've got really good challenges ahead of me right now with the office of the sheriff, and really exciting stuff. I'm so excited to do those things.
Wow. So you, I love how you were just kind of like focused from the beginning. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes as young people, we're trying to figure things out, like what's next? What do I do? Should I go to school?
Well, so let's talk about that. I wasn't without detours.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Wasn't without detours.
Were the detours fun?
Yeah, they were, and they also helped build who I am, I think. So when I moved from New York here, and remember, I'm looking for a job in law enforcement, but I had to work to pay the bills, right?
Where were you working?
I was working in retail.
Okay, where?
And so I worked for the Limited.
And Limited. Okay, the store, the clothing store. Okay,
clothing store, that's right.
Yeah.
And I loved that job. It was a great job. But one of the biggest things I think I learned during that time was I was a manager. So I learned to manage people, and I learned to deal with conflicts, right? And resolution. Day one.
So I mean, we have to ask
I was
you.
27 years old when I started.
I wasn't gonna ask that.
No problem saying it. Yeah. I was 27 years old.
I think thank you for sharing that, because again, I think sometimes, students straight out of college are like, man, if I don't have it figured out when I'm 21, then I'm
not at all. Not at all.
Like, okay, you can have your detours, you can have your life, and keep figuring it out, right? So why a life in public service? What inspired this?
Well, I think for me, seeing my mom, we're Dominican. She came to the country. She sponsored her other siblings to come to the country. I mean, she's one of 13. It was a lot, yeah. And seeing that process and seeing so many of them come through our home, right, as they got themselves on their feet and then eventually got their own places and get their own jobs. And so my mom she was like the matriarch of her family, being the eldest female.
She was the oldest one.
She was the oldest, so she basically helped raise her siblings and then just kind of carried that throughout her whole life. I think that I saw what it was to always help.
How important do you think that is? DMLO 305 has been very fortunate to, we do a lot of work with a lot of the agencies here in Miami, and we've seen, especially during December, we saw a lot of beautiful things happening, with toy drives and everything. How important do you think it is to have law enforcement just be active in the community and showing the positivity behind it all?
It is 100% the most important thing. Look, our job is to keep our community safe, but part of that is building trust. Yeah. And we do that through the day-to-day interactions. And we have to create those moments, because unfortunately in law enforcement, we come when it's a problem, 911, and then that's when we're showing up. So we have to create those positive moments. It's something that we have to actively pursue. And I'm so grateful to our community that I feel like we've done that well, and we'll continue to hopefully do that.
What are some the community initiatives that you're passionate about, that you want to see more, as you continue to be a sheriff? Yeah,
so I think internally for me with officer wellness is a huge piece. We as a department, we've been through a lot in the last, but locally we've been through a lot, right? We've seen natural disasters, we've seen man-made disasters, we've had some personal loss. So I think that we've done a good job, but I want to see us continue doing better at that. That's so important to me. So imagine you've committed yourselves to a professional career for so many years, and all of a sudden now someone might be able to say, hey, thank you, but we don't need you, we don't want you, or everything we promised you, you're not gonna get. That's a lot of fear. And it's not just for the person, it's their families.
Of course.
Their children, their livelihood, exactly. So I wanna make sure that we continue taking care of our deputies so that they in turn can take care of our community. So that's one thing that I'm really passionate about. The thing is gonna be our involvement with our community in the office of the sheriff, but it's gonna be of leaders in the community who wanna step forward and work with the sheriff just on the issues and concerns today, right? What's going on today that they're worried about, or whatever it is, complaints, positives, accolades, I don't care. But the vision of what this county is gonna look like in the future and work toward that together, it's important. I think that needs to be the future of not just policing in general, because we've all seen that policing has changed. I wanna see that growth together with the community.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Sheriff. We can't wait to see what you do.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate you coming out.
Our pleasure. Thank you.